G'day guys, Dane here from Clarke's column. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Ranking with Dane Clarke. Today we look at the ranking number 16 to 1, the NRL centres. I was going to do this video live because I wanted to practice my sort of podcasting abilities. Unfortunately, all throughout I need to take drinks, scratch my nose, burp, and it was a disaster from start to finish, really. So I'm going to go back to the usual format. Hope you guys enjoy this video. There's 4 other episodes now if you want to check them out on the channel. Like I said, they're all about 15 to 20 minutes, so throw some headphones in, do the washing, hang the washing out, bath the dog, cook dinner, change the car's oil, I don't know, just do a chore and listen to it if you want, and I'm sure you'll enjoy them. So that being said, let's crack on with episode 5 now. Number 16, I'm sure this isn't a surprise to many people. I've gone with the Parramatta Eels now. Michael Jennings and Brad Takarangi, if we're being completely honest here, are 2 players the Parramatta Eels do not really want. Both have been shopped around. Takarangi's been told you will not be re-signed past 2019. I know for a fact Jennings wouldn't be there, only he had the year in his favour penned into his contract, so he activated that for about 850k, which is just absurd. Both men struggling with form, and overall, like we know the whole Eels team struggling, but these two obviously have a bit more expectation and provided little attack for the Eels in 2018. Geez, that was a savage way to start this. Number 15 now, the Canterbury Bulldogs. Now their likely centre combination will be, you would think, Will Hopewadi and Kerrod Holland. Kerrod Holland's a pretty good attacking weapon, shown he's very capable of racking up some points, whether it's via goal kicking or crossing the line through 2018. Obviously he's still young, so there's a lot of development upside to his career. Will Hopewadi, I believe he's probably on the downside of his career. We'll probably never see him reach New South Wales rep honours again. He'll certainly continue to represent Tonga. And then obviously for depth, they've also got Jaden Ockenbar, who, if you don't know who he is a local junior who's been playing reserve grade for the Bulldogs, has long dreadlocks, a pretty good player to be honest. So they do have a bit of depth there, and a person that they can possibly look forward to debuting in 2019. But with that being said, neither of these guys are really going to light the NRL on fire, I don't believe, so that's why I've put them at number 15 on this list. Number 14, the North Queensland Cowboys now. I believe they should put Nene McDonald at centre, like I said in my previous video, but I'm going to assume for this that they don't. So that leaves us with Enari Chuala and Tom Opacek as our likely centres. Other options are, of course, Justin O'Neill and also Javid Bowen. Justin O'Neill, I believe his best years are probably behind him. 2018 was probably his worst year, if I'm being honest. I don't believe he'll ever capture a Queensland Maroons jersey again. And Javid Bowen is very inconsistent from what I've seen, and I believe that is testified by him being in and out of the NRL squad. Now, Tom Opacek is relatively unknown. He has played a few games for the Broncos, but he was consistent throughout his time in reserve grade for the Redcliffe Dolphins, if nothing else. Of course, NRL is a different standard, and he will have to improve again in 2019, but I believe he'll be up to the task. As for Enari Chuala, well, he didn't set the world on fire in his first year in the NRL, but he was consistent in a team that struggled. So for that reason, I believe he will keep his spot in the centre. Given he is also young, he has a lot of upside and development still to do in his career. So for those reasons, I've got the North Queensland Cowboys at number 14 on this list. Number 13, the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, I believe they will go with Dylan Walker and Moses Sully as their centre pairing. They do have Brad Parker as an option for depth, although if I'm being honest, my opinion, I don't really rate Brad Parker too highly. He hasn't really shown too much since entering the NRL. However, on the 2 men mentioned before him, Dylan Walker, I believe, does play his best football at centre despite being at 5'8" for a portion of his career and especially last year. However, the Seagulls do have Kane Elgey to partner DCE now, so I believe now makes the most sense for Walker to return to centre and play some of his best career form like we saw at the South Sydney Rabbitohs when he won the premiership with that team in 2014. Moses Sully, I feel like he was a bit of a overhyped a lot, but maybe that was also because of his off-field dramas being so well documented. He's obviously still young and has a lot of potential and still growing to do in his career. But this is if I'm looking at inconsistent teams and more in particular inconsistent centres, I identify these 2 here as likely that. So for that reason, I've put the Manly Sea Eagles at number 13 on this list. Number 12, the New Zealand Warriors. Now, likely their centre pairing will be Peter Hiku and Solomoni Kata. Now, they do have a bit of depth available there with also Blake Ayshford and Gerard Beale available to fill in. Now, Solomon Carter, I believe he was battling injuries all through 2018. He was regularly on the ground throughout games holding a leg and stuff. So if he stays healthy, then we know how damaging he can be with the ball. Very hard to stop one-on-one, close to the line, given his short, stocky build. Peter Hiku, obviously very talented, has a great offload and great offensive weapons available to him, but very inconsistent in defense. And I believe that it can be testified to the fact New Zealand coach Stephen Kearney actually dropped him in 2018 due to defensive errors. Now, back to their depth, Gerard Beale, obviously a New Zealand representative, but I don't know, I've just never really rated Beale. Obviously, he does have talent, but I don't really see it, and that's only my opinion. So, and Blake Ayshford, he's just like a typical journeyman, really. He's not going to hold down a consistent spot in the NRL in 2019, you wouldn't think. So for those reasons, I've put the New Zealand Warriors at number 12 on this. Number 11 now, the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, probably a welcomed headache for Mary McGregor and probably something they've needed the last couple of years, some competition for spots. And I do attest that to their mid-season slide down the ladder. So let's have a look at our options here. We've got Ewan Aitken, Tim Laffey, and also Zach Lomax. Laffey and Aitken obviously well established and experienced NRL centres, with Lomax the young prospect up and comer with still a lot of upside to his career and a lot of growing and potential. Also a goal kicker factor in that as well. I'm going to lean towards Lomax and Aitken. Although Aitken was a bit inconsistent through 2018, I found so was Laffey, if I'm being honest. Aitken was probably touted as potential New South Wales Blues centre until Latrell Mitchell went on that just run of dominance and shown that he definitely had to have that jersey. But if you were going to argue otherwise, that Laffey should be there and one of the others should be dropped, then I could completely understand your reasoning. But for the reasons I just said, I've had to include them at number 11 on this list. Number 10 on the list, the Cronulla Sharks. Now, this is a team that probably could rank a little higher, but it is very hard to do given the talented centres we do have in the NRL. So we have a look at their first picks. It will likely be Josh Morris and Josh Dugan. Now, both former New South Wales and Australian players, both very talented, but if we're being honest here, both towards the end of their career. Not too much upside left. Although they do provide a lot of experience out there, which is no doubt very helpful to the Sharks. Josh Morris was known a few years ago and probably still is as one of the best defensive centres in the game. Now, other options available to the Sharks include Bronson Xerri, who I'm very excited to see debut in 2019. I think he was very likely to play centre until they signed Shaun Johnson, because now obviously Shaun Johnson will go into the halves, Moylan will likely go to fullback, and Dugan will retain that centre position that Xerri would have likely otherwise had. Another option available to them is Kurt Capewell. Very versatile. I personally prefer to see him in the forwards, but he is an option for them at centre. So for those reasons, I've landed the Cronulla Sharks at number 10 on this list. Number 9 now, the Melbourne Storm. Now, likely their centre pairing will remain the same. We'll probably see Will Chambers and Curtis Scott there. Chambers is obviously a cool, experienced head, although sometimes he does overplay his hand and do a bit of a silly kick or grubber, which we saw sometimes through 2018, especially in the Origin series. But then Curtis Scott is a centre who is likely a future representative player and does have a lot of upside. They do have Chase Blair available there for depth. Not really the greatest NRL player, a bit of a journeyman, but experienced and able to do the job if necessary. Now, I did put them at number 9 here, which might seem a little high given Curtis Scott is very talented and also Chambers, but I do see Chambers continuing this sort of slide. He needs to drastically turn his career around if he's going to return to his former form, which I'm just not sure if he can do in 2019. So for those reasons, I've put the Melbourne Storm at number 9 on this list. Number 8, my team, the Gold Coast Titans. Now, very excited for this year. As I've said in previous videos, I believe this is the best team we've ever had on the coast. Our centre pairing will likely, you would think, be Tyrone Peachey and Brian Kelly. That incorporates the attacking game style that we like to obviously play as the Titans. However, we do have several other options available to us. Dale Copley, Branko Lee, Michael Gordon could even slot in at centre. And there's a host of other options that can play centre in our team. So we have so much depth around this position and so much competition for spots.
Tyrone Peachey, an Australian representative player, and Brian Kelly was obviously very impressive with his time at the Manly Sea Eagles, so for that reason I've had to put the Titans at number 8 on this list. Number 7, the Newcastle Knights. Now I believe their centre pairing will be made up of Tautau Moga and Jesse Ramian. Tautau Moga, obviously a very powerful ball runner, very strong, very hard to stop close to the line, and then Jesse Ramian is likely a future representative player from what we've seen of him so far. He declared yesterday that he wants to play Origin in 2019, and if he continues his form at the Sharks and builds on it in his new team, then he's a big chance to do that. Other options the Knights do have available to them is Soni Matautia, who was obviously pretty solid and consistent at centre last year, and also Nathan Ross has the ability to slot into centre. So they do have some very good depth there also. For those reasons, I've put the Newcastle Knights at number 7 on this list. Number 6, the West Tigers. Now, I believe their centre pairing will be made up of Isan Masters and Mahe Fanua. Now, I believe Mahe Fanua is one of the most powerful ball runners in our game. The mullet man is very strong, very dynamic, and I believe he'll do very well at centre next year and add a lot of strike out wide for the Tigers. Now, Isan Masters is obviously a New Zealand representative player in the centres. He's very talented, and I believe he had his best year in 2018. He's still young, and he should build on that and continue his form and announce himself as one of the best centres in the NRL in 2019. Now, options available to them for depth includes Paul Momorowski, who was obviously very good at his time during the Sydney Roosters, filled in throughout the year and in the finals at centre or wing where required, and honestly didn't really look out of place, did his job for the Roosters, and filled in some pretty big boots such as Latrell Mitchell, etc., through that side. So for those reasons, I've netted the West Tigers at number 6 on this list. Number 5, the Brisbane Broncos. Now, I believe their centre pairing were made up of James Roberts and Jack Bird. So James Roberts is obviously a current New South Wales Blues centre and did very well throughout Origin and had a very good year last year. Jack Bird is obviously a former New South Wales rep, but he is included in a training camp that's scheduled to take part early next year or later this year. So obviously, Fittler does still see Bird potentially making his way back into that system, and we need to factor in Bird was heavily injured throughout the entire 2018. I think if we're being fair, we need to scrap 2018 for Bird, give him a fresh start in 2019, let him regain his confidence, and I think he's going to have a great year. Other options available to them are Katoni Staggs, who obviously was very, very good last year in his rookie season, very good on debut, scored a try, and he never really was able to lock down a consistent centre spot in that Broncos side, but even when he came off the bench, he was dynamic, he was fast, he's a very talented kid, and he's got a lot of upside to his career. For those reasons, I put the Brisbane Broncos at number 5 on this list. Alright guys, now we hit the business end, the top 4. To start us off, I've got the Penrith Panthers. Now I believe their centre combination were made up of Wonga Blake and Dean Whare. Dean Whare, you could easily consider one of the best defensive centres in our game. He definitely knows how to put a hit on, we know that for sure, and Jeremy Marshall-King certainly knows that. And Wonga Blake is just an attacking weapon. He had his injuries through 2018, but when he was on the field, he was explosive, he was dynamic, and the 8th Immortal, Joey Johns, is a huge fan of this kid. He believes he needs to wear a New South Wales Blues jersey next year. That's how big of a fan Joey is, so don't take it from me, take it from the 8th Immortal. Available to the Panthers for depth is Tyrell Fuimaono from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They obviously signed him in the off-season. He's very versatile, can play a bit in the back row and also in the centres. So they do have another great backup option there. So for those reasons, I've included the Penrith Panthers at number 4 on this list. Number 3, the Canberra Raiders, and this is definitely the highest they've ranked on any of my lists so far this off-season, but it's pretty evident why. BJ Leilua, Joey Leilua, and Jared Croker both have been touted as potential New South Wales Blues players for the last maybe 3 or 4 seasons. Both are fairly consistent in a side that's missed the top 8 of recent times. Jared Croker is obviously their captain and goal kicker, and BJ Leilua is an attacking weapon with a phenomenal offload and the ability to find Jordan Rapana, who we know is a superb finisher. Not really too much to say here. You'll either agree or you'll disagree, but I would say that this is one of the premier and elite centre combinations in the NRL. That's why I've ranked them at number 3 on this list. Number 2, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, Greg Inglis, Dane Gagai, they are the 2 attacking pillars of that team. I believe if you take both of those out, the South Sydney Rabbitohs lose so much flair, so much attacking power out wide, and I believe they'd really struggle without them. Both Queensland representative players, both Australian Kangaroo players, if we include Inglis, obviously had the drink driving incident. That's the only reason he didn't play for Australia this year. So we can both say that they're at the level of Australian representative players. Look, easily an elite centre pairing in our game. Easily one of the best. Very close with number one, but you'll see I've included number one because they're a bit younger and have a few more years left in their legs and a little bit more upside to their career. So for those reasons, I've had to net the South Sydney Rabbitohs at number 2 on this list. And number 1 should come as no surprise here, Latrell Mitchell and Joey Manu. Now, this, in my opinion, is by far or kind of close to number 2, but besides Greg Inglis and Dane Gagai, no other centre combination comes close to this pair. Both international level players. Joey Manu obviously announced himself this year as one of the best attacking centres we have in our game. And Latrell Mitchell, look, we already knew he was an attacking weapon, but he put a stamp on it this year. The way he went out and dominated Ewan Aitken when they were both in contention for a New South Wales Blues jumper was phenomenal. I think he put 3 tries on him, smashed him over the sideline, and put a huge stamp on Latrell Mitchell, New South Wales Blues centre. These two are still young. These two have a lot of upside still in their career. These two are potentially future leaders of that Sydney Roosters side and still have a lot of growing and development to do, which is a scary, scary thought. For that reason, I've put the Sydney Roosters at number 1 on this list. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up episode 5 of the ranking with Dane Clarke. Obviously now we've covered off on halves, hookers, fullbacks, wings and centres. The only thing left for me to do is forward packs, which will be the next video. I'm not going to go through prop, second row lock, individual. I'm just going to rank the forward packs all together because let's be honest, a lot of forwards are that versatile these days. They can probably play either 3 of those positions. So that would make it very tough and no doubt cause a lot of controversy for certain positions. So to make it easier, let's throw them all in as one. I'm going to make that video very soon, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, let me know on Facebook, Instagram, or in the comments whether you agree, disagree, or any changes you'd make. Until next time, I'm Clarke's Column. Check out my Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the support.
I'll take your eyes to see the moon. Take your body to the